Is there a grandmother that you were close to?
Mhm.
Mhm. Passed?
Mhm.
Mm.
Recently.
Mm. Oh my gosh, I just feel like she's just such a loving, beautiful presence. Was she sort of like a really big sort of mother figure to you? Like you two were very, very close. And oh, she is, there's so much, I feel like I'm going to get emotional, but there's so much love coming through for you. And she's with you. Um, she's with you and you can talk to her, you can have a sign with her, and she just kind of wants you to know that she's around and that she's proud of you and knows that she's doing great, you know what I mean? And I know that maybe it's really hard for you because she isn't really around for you to be a mother, and you really wanted, did she meet your son? No, right?
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah, and that's sort of something that's really hard for you because she didn't really get to see you be a mother and meet your boy, but just know that she's seeing you, she's just in another form.
Yeah.
Okay. And just knowing that she's with you and she's there, she's around.
What gets us through this crazy hockey journey is our amazing community of women. Inspired by our online network, Breaking the Ice is a platform created to connect us even more as we share our stories, our passions, our tips, tricks, do's, and don'ts for all things hockey, and so much more. For hockey expats, by hockey expats. So lace them up and tune in for a new episode every Wednesday. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. This week, I am reporting that our season is officially over and we will be heading back to North America next week. So, I've spent the better part of the weekend looking up flights that will accommodate my dogs and my child and us as smoothly as possible. But as you can imagine, that there's quite a few hiccups in the road as always, but hopefully by this time we will have everything straightened out and we'll be packing, getting ready to go back. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's kind of been a long time coming and the next couple episodes I actually already have recorded and ready to go, but after that, I will be recording from the other side of the pond. Today is part 2 of the episode with Jamie, and I know that so many of you guys are excited to hear this because I received so many messages about her and how much you love the episode. If you follow along with my stories, I kind of shared this crazy thing that happened to me after our conversation. So I told Jamie that I was going to manifest a sign with my future spirit baby because she sensed that I was having a girl and she said, just ask her for a sign. So I was meditating and I manifested this sign and I said, okay, if I'm going to have you, if I'm going to have a girl, show me a unicorn. I just thought of something so random because I knew that if it was something really basic that I see all the time, I wouldn't believe it. I'm like, okay, I never see a unicorn. It just kind of popped into my head. So the next day I was on a walk with my friend Blair and we were just talking and we walked past this car and I literally like walked in reverse and I was like, sorry, hold on, I have to take a picture of this. And there was this unicorn stuffed animal just like facing out. It was insane. Like it made me do a complete double take. And I told Jamie, and of course she was like, and when I told her that, she's like, yeah, I saw you having a girl next and she's around, which is just crazy. So, and I told her, I'm like, I hope she's not, too around. I don't know if I'm ready for another one yet, but, I think we will see what happens. And it's just a really cool that you can kind of like manifest these signs and then they just start appearing. And I feel like I've been seeing like unicorns and stuff in strange ways lately. So it's kind of cool. But I've also had a couple people message me saying like they manifested their income and then someone said that they manifested a sign with their spirit baby and said, if, you're going to come into my life soon, will you show me and the sign of a sunflower? And literally that day, her husband brought home sunflowers for her. Like, just crazy stuff. So try it if you're curious and see what happens. And if you do that and you have something come up, please tell me, because I live for this stuff. I think it's so cool. So part 2, Jaime starts off with a collective reading for our hockey community. So she's going to share that to start, and then she's going to kind of explain what that is, and then she does a mini reading on me. So enjoy.
So, for those listening, Jaime mentioned that she wanted to do a collective reading for our community, which I'm just so excited about. I know it's been such a hard year for so many people, and I think this is going to be so amazing. So, I would love to just get into that whenever you're ready.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm just going to take it 2 seconds to just tune in, and then I'll get started.
Yeah, there's a lot of you are sitting and waiting. You're like sitting on some ideas. You're sitting and waiting on ideas, and you're waiting for and or else there's a lot of you who are going to be getting a lot of divine, like a lot of inspiration and ideas coming your way. But it's like you're waiting on these ideas and you're not taking the next steps. It feels like there's like I feel like some of you know what your next steps are, but you're just waiting. You're feeling like you're waiting till the perfect time, or you're waiting for everything to be perfect and all to line up, but you are ready. You're ready to take the next steps, and a lot of you already know what these next steps are. And just knowing that like what you're resisting and what you're working through, what you're resisting is going to bring you so much growth and expansion. And a lot of times when when the fears come up and the doubts come up, and we feel like we're not good enough or we'll never be able to figure it out, it's like knowing that this thing that you want to do, this idea has been divinely inspired, and it's really part of you and your purpose. And it's your gifts. So it's like you're resisting in some way stepping into your power and in your gifts more deeply. So it's really time to move beyond the fear, listen to the fear, but no longer allowing the fear to take over. And know that like any sort of doubt or fear that's coming up, sometimes we think that it's like it means no. It means it's our intuition that is telling us no, but that's not true. It's really just your ego trying to keep you safe and comfortable. But now it's time to override your ego and move beyond this threshold of fear, because all of these ideas that you're getting and what you're sitting on right now, it's like you are ready. You're more ready than you think. And you just need to take those next steps. And you're going to be so happy you did when you take those next steps. It's like a lot of you, it's like you've been kind of sitting like on the sidelines and feeling like, things are happening to people outside of you, but you're just kind of sitting behind. And it's time for you to step off the sidelines and into like the light and into what you came here to do. And knowing that like the first steps are always the hardest, but once you move through that discomfort and move beyond that fear, you're just going to feel so in alignment, and you'll just be like, why didn't I do this the whole time? So knowing that like it's never going to be perfect. You're never going to feel like you're ready, but you just need to take those next steps. You need to just progress over perfection. Because when you're waiting for everything to be perfect and everything to be aligned, you're never actually taking the next steps. And it's actually you using it as a form of self-sabotage. And I know that like a lot of you are also experiencing this like really deep clearing and purging and letting go and shedding of the old layers. And it's really been like this for a long time. But knowing that like this is all this clearing that's taking place so that this new cycle, that like to clear space for this new cycle to begin and for this forward progression to take place. But sometimes when you're at the end of a cycle, they're like old patterns and old worries and old lessons can come up magnified for you to acknowledge it and choose differently. So a lot of you may be experiencing feeling very triggered right now. There may be circumstances or people that are coming around as like little tests for you to choose differently. And this is what happens right before, kind of right before a big expansion or right before a big leap or a shift. Often, there's a huge contraction phase. There's this phase where you feel really dimmed and further away from all the things that you're desiring, and all of these, you feel so far away from being able to do that. But knowing that, like, you are closer, I'm just hearing like you are closer than you've ever been, and you just need to take these next steps. Stop sitting, stop waiting for the perfect time. You are more ready than you think. And you're going to be so happy you did when you just step in and do the thing. Move beyond the fear, listen to your thoughts, listening to the fears, but choosing differently, because we have the power. You have the power. We have the power to change our thoughts, change our beliefs, and, you know, listening to the inner narratives that are taking place. What are those old stories that you keep telling yourself? What is the old stories that are coming up right before you're about to take a leap or do something different? What is that little inner voice that tells you no all the time? And knowing that a lot of times when the way we speak to ourselves, especially when you're about to break free and do something different, it's really your ego just trying to keep you safe and comfortable, and that's its job. That's what it does. It keeps you safe and comfortable, but now it's time to move beyond that. And knowing and listening to those inner voices that talk you down, pull you backwards, because the way you speak to yourself is often a way that you were either reprimanded as a child. So oftentimes when the way we speak to ourselves now as adults is the way we were reprimanded as children, or we are taught to sort of dim down and stay in control, be in control. Don't veer off the path. Don't do anything different. You can't be too big. You can be big, but not too big. But now it's time to be bold and take the next steps. You are so worthy and so deserving of moving beyond this, of stepping into this purpose work. And this is why it's been so difficult for so long, because there's all this deep layers and um, shedding of old layers that needed to be shed in order for you to walk forward. And knowing that you are not who you were a year ago from now, you were in a completely different place. And you are so ready, and you're so worthy, and you're so deserving to take those next steps. And just knowing that, like, whatever you're experiencing right now is serving your biggest growth. And working with manifestation. So manifestation, knowing that you have the power to create what you want to experience next. And manifestation isn't just writing things down on a piece of paper and then burning it. Like, that's not manifestation, right? That's like an old kind of way of doing things. Manifestation is, it's feeling, it's creating it, it's sitting with it, using your imagination and sitting with it, creating it and feeling it and embodying it in your body. Because everything that we are desiring is actually in pursuit of a feeling. And so it's like, how do you want to feel? What do you think that those external circumstances that you think are waiting on to happen in order for you to bring you those feelings? Because it's actually an internal shift that brings us the external. And so it's sitting with this, playing around, using your imagination. That's the creation stage. That's the fun stage, is sitting with it and then embodying it. Like, who is that person? How does this person feel when they have that thing that they've been wanting? And feeling it now, practicing feeling those emotions now, because then you become a vibrational match to what it is that you want to bring in. And knowing that, like, that is the most powerful way you can work with manifestation, is becoming it. Go walk it, be show up as that person. And when you're ready, and when you're I feel like a lot of you are just going to be moving forward. There's just a lot of forward momentum going to be taking place, and you're going to be sort of carried on a wave that's going to be carrying you further than you could go on your own. But you got to let go. because you're kind of getting in the way. You're kind of self-sabotaging and getting in the way of if you're worried about taking the next steps and you're not actually taking them. So just step forward, act on these ideas, and because these ideas are divinely inspired and they are for you. Just gonna see if there's anything else. 1 second.
Yeah, no, that was, I mean, I totally resonated with that. And I actually have a question. So before I found you and your Instagram, I actually had never heard of a collective reading before. And I think people might also be wondering, like, what does that mean? Or, you know, like, how does that apply to me? Does that mean that like it, it's something that resonates with the majority of the group and that's what you're picking up?
Yeah. So a lot of times with when I like typically I'll do like obviously the past few months I've had to take a break because I've been so sick with morning sickness, but typically I do a weekly collective reading. I do a video each week. And you know, I always say that like there's multiple messages like within a collective reading. And so what I'm doing is actually I'm just kind of tuning it would be like you coming to me for a reading. I am reading like I'm picking up on energy that's for
Mm-hmm.
you. But when I do a collective reading, I'm kind of like opening it up for like whoever may be watching this video, or it's like I like to sort of describe it as, or wait, like my team of light has described it to me as like, like the iCloud.
Yeah.
So I'm like
How good
pulling
to
information
not.
yeah. I'm pulling information from the iCloud, essentially, like the
Okay.
collective environment. And so, I always say just pick and choose, like sit with what resonates with you. And if it, take what resonates and just kind of discard the rest. And maybe it won't work, maybe it doesn't resonate with you, and that's totally okay. But so that's essentially what I'm doing is I'm doing a reading for like a broad reading for a general
Mm-hmm.
people or whoever may be watching this. So I usually go in and just say what does the collective need to know right now? What does the people watching this need to know right now?
Mm-hmm. So I
Mhm.
have a question. I know like so many people are like just this year with everything going on have a lot of stress and anxiety and just like frustration, and they're feeling discouraged about just being where they are, and is the season going to go on, is it not going to go on, what's happening? It's just like so many unknowns like you said, and I'm wondering if you're like picking anything up on that, because even for me I'm like scared to come back, to Europe next year, because I'm like, I don't want to sit here again and go through
Yeah.
everything I went through. And I think so many people are also feeling that way.
Yeah,
So I'm
absolutely.
curious if you're picking anything up about that.
Timelines, I'm just going to let you know, timelines are shifting really quickly. So just knowing that like what has taken place before and sort of the length of delay doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen in going forward. So just trust, that is so far away from now. Just trust and be where you are right now, and know that like I'm just hearing like end of delays, like just let that go and know that like things are going to change, things will shift. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
And that's good to hear.
yeah, yeah. I feel like the divine, when I think it was like divine orchestration, just know that like circumstances, whatever has been out of your control, it's like there is orchestration at play right here. There's something, there's higher forces at play. So just stay in trust and be where you are right now. And I just feel like a lot of people, of course, are so in their heads, and it's like starting to like ground, be in your body, and like be control what you can. And what you can do is you can kind of imagine like when we're all in our heads, we're out of our bodies, and so instead, like imagine that you have like a ball. There's like a ball of energy that represents your consciousness, and just imagine moving this ball of energy through your body and into your heart, and just starting to take some deep breaths in and out of your heart space. And you can do this like every day, and just start to connect with your heart, moving into your body and being your body, because when we're ungrounded, that's when we can, our anxiety takes over. And that's what happens with anxiety. We get out of our bodies. And
Mm-hmm.
knowing that like you can breathe and be in your body, and that helps to shift and transmute that energy. you know, and when it comes to emotions, because a lot of people are feeling a lot of their emotions, it's really intense and they've never really felt this way before. It's like all of this stuff is coming up magnified right now. And knowing that like you have the power to shift your emotions, and it happens, like emotional clearing happens when you sit with your emotions, when you give yourself the space to feel them. What is underneath this emotion? What am I feeling in my body? Where does this emotion sit in my body? And really breathing into it, letting yourself have this experience, and then allowing it sort of allowing it to like move out of your body, essentially, is what happens, because that's all it is. Like emotions are just, energy in motion, right? And so a lot of these deep layers that we've been, closed off to, are starting to come up, pushed down for so long, right?
Mhm.
And like COVID triggered such a mass awakening, which, all these people were in unknowns, all experiencing all these things. A lot of things were out of control. And that was very scary, right?
Mhm.
To experience that. But knowing that like you have the power, and just sitting with those emotions. And I teach a lot, I teach this a lot. Sitting with your emotions, giving yourself that space, and then moving your energy, moving it, letting it flow, like cry, expressing your emotions, writing it out in a journal, can help move the energy. Actually physically moving your body and breathing really deep into it, which helps release the energy. Going for walks, being out in nature. And I also like to say that like when it comes to, you know, emotions and just like thoughts and just like our beliefs, can become very addictive. So we can become addicted to our lower emotions, right? And then we become addicted to this low state of feeling, like sadness, or whatever it may be you're experiencing. It can become very addictive to your body. So it's important to know that when you have become addicted to an emotion, and now choosing sort of the opposite, what does joy feel like in my body? What is inspiration? What would it feel like to feel inspired? When can I remember a time where I felt that deep love and joy and excited in my body? And just think back to an old memory, and like sitting in your heart, and just breathing into that experience, and that sort of remembrance of what those elevated feelings feel like, and see if you can hold it there for like a minute, and do that every day.
Mhm.
And that can help shift your emotions and shift out of these addictive emotions that we experience, because a lot of times we get addicted we to experiencing low emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people resonate with that for sure. Is there
Yeah,
anything else you're picking up?
you know just timing wise, but
Yeah.
I'll like be all the time, because I feel like I could just keep going, but it's just like it just is really, I'm just seeing a lot of people that have been like really dimmed down and sort of like moved to the side, and needing to step into their power. And I feel like this is going to be naturally happening, but it's like, again, this like sitting on ideas, sitting on these like, you've been wanting to do something for a really long time, but this fear is holding you back. And I feel like it's time, you like whoever's listening to this that resonates with this, like you are ready, and it's time for you to take those next steps. And
Amazing.
there's going to be some forward momentum taking place. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be deeply uncomfortable, but you're going to be so happy when you move through it, and you're in
Yeah.
like, it's that's the work, is moving beyond the fear. Um, Again, like this movement and travel, it's like, don't like let go of control. Know that things will
That's
take.
hard for like all of us to do. We always want to be in control in this
Oh my gosh.
hockey life, you know?
Of course, it's hard because, you know, it's really difficult because so much when you're in that world, so much is out of your control. So much is out of, your husband's or your partner's control, because anything can happen. They could get traded, or they can, move to another team at any time. And you're just kind of constantly, it's hard to stay grounded, where you are, because you're kind of constantly worrying like, what next? Like, what are we going to do next? What's happening next?
Hmm.
And that's like this control. And of course, you experience it as well, because you never really truly feel safe or secure where you are, because you're constantly, could be moving at any second. And so therefore, that's when control comes in really strong, is when you're kind of in a situation where you feel so out of control.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where like letting go of control of is really sort of a really difficult pattern to break, but just kind of surrendering to what you can control and be in the moment, be present in the moment of
Mm-hmm.
what you can do, and sort of let the rest go.
Yeah. That's a really good reminder too, I think, to everyone. Like we all could hear that, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like everyone needs to hear that, right? But especially when you're
Exactly.
in such a situation where you feel, you know, it's not up to you, right?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I feel like a lot of women are going to be really stepping into their power and sort of starting their own businesses and getting their own things going, because that's something that you can control,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of a passion that's been brewing for a while, but there's been so much fear and resistance towards it because, again, we fear what will bring us the most growth.
I hope that some of that collective reading resonated with you today. And now we are going to move into the mini reading that Jaime did on me. And like I said, honestly, we could have gone on for hours and hours and hours. So we had to kind of limit ourselves to 2 hours, but maybe I'll have her back on another time. I think we should do that. Jaime, if you're listening, what do you say?
So I'm seeing like you are just this. I like feel like I'm going to get emotional because I feel like it's something you've just it's been really hard on you, but you have this big, you're just such a big bright light, and I feel like you haven't been able to recognize that for a while, because I feel like in the past situations that you've been in have really dimmed that part of you. and I feel like I'm going to get emotional from it, because
That's
it's
okay.
like there is sometimes when I'm doing a session, it like the emotion comes in so strong when it's like a really important message to share. And I sometimes start bawling because it's such an intense, deep emotion of love. Sorry, just to explain.
That's okay.
And you just have this such a bright light around you, and you just have, you know, I just see you really like stepping in and really, it's like you're this hub of light, and you're just lighting up people and connecting people kind of all over the world. And that's sort of what you're moving into. But I feel like in the past you've been in situations and lessons and experiences with people who have really constantly dimmed your light, and you have been really hard on yourself in return, because people people didn't really get you, or you were trying to be friends with people, or like there's friends and like people in your life that just kind of constantly dimmed you down and made you feel like not worthy or less about yourself. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
can totally cut this out if this is like not.
No, no.
Yeah,
Do your
okay.
thing. Yeah.
and and it's like you need to know that now, like, the steps that you've taken, I feel like this podcast was a huge step for you in reclaiming your power, in reclaiming your voice, and really stepping into your power. And so knowing that, you know does that resonate with you, first of
Mm-hmm.
all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sorry, I just like to check in so that I'm on the right
Yeah.
track. But it's like this was such a huge step for you, and you really need to celebrate how far you've come in such a short period of time and how much has changed for you, because I don't think that you're celebrating yourself enough, and you're celebrating just, maybe this wasn't a huge step for other people, but this was huge for you, and only you know how hard it took for you to actually finally take this step, and how long you've been sitting on this for. And you really need to start celebrating yourself more and not being so hard on yourself. Really, like, after you do something, after you do an episode, really celebrate that, because you know that this took a lot of work and took a lot of resistance to move through, and it was really incredibly uncomfortable. And I want you to know that you may still feel like you are still trying to navigate things. You're trying to like figure it all out, and it feels kind of like not super comfortable yet, but I want you to know that you're going to be really finding your flow if you haven't already done so. I feel like you're already finding that. But know that those people in the past were all the biggest lessons for you. in learning, you gave your power away. You were constantly there for other people. You're such a giver, and in a lot of friendships, and they just kind of took from you. And so you felt depleted. You weren't in relationships that were reciprocal for you. And I want you to know that those were a huge lesson for you in something you needed to experience and go through. But now you're finally stepping into your power and into your light, and you're starting to recognize that within yourself. And therefore more and more people are going to be coming into your life that are more of a vibrational match to who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already kind of happening. You're like, you have such a part of your purpose, and we have multiple purposes in a lifetime, but part of your purpose is to first shine and be this light, be this source of light for others, as well as like you are this like connector. I feel like you connect people, you connect with people, and building a community. This this podcast, it's not just going to be a podcast, and I don't want to say that or diminish it in any way, because podcasts are a huge deal, but it's going to be more than that. I feel like it's going to be um bigger than you could imagine. Like, it's bigger than what you think it's going to be, and it's going to really transform and evolve as you do. And so just letting go, you need to like let go of like um be able to shift and go along with like the changes that you're going through, and as well as this podcast, because it's going to really grow with you. But it's also going to extend into more of like, I'm just feeling like there's some way you're going to be bringing people together, and you're going to be really like stepping into like more of a leadership role, and bringing people together, and community together, events, um, like workshops, retreats, meetups, stuff like that. It's going to really expand into something bigger. And
Amazing.
I feel like there's a lot of, you know, bigger dreams that you've had, and I feel like these big dreams feel so far away, or they're not. I'm just letting you know that they're not some fantasy, and just continue forward with that, because those are really, I feel like you're just having future visions of yourself. And yeah, do you have any questions right now? I can keep going, but
Um, about like what you were just saying, or just questions like in general?
no, no, I feel like, just a second, sorry. You need to just keep shining and keep going, not being afraid of, don't censor yourself. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, and really let your, don't censor yourself in any way. Does that make sense to you? I feel like, in the past, and also kind of sometimes right now, you censor like what you're going to say because you're trying to protect other people. But you no longer need to protect those people that maybe weren't, I mean, of course you don't want to like call people out, but like, you don't need to protect others anymore, or those people that hurt you the most. And it's
Mhm.
time for you to share your story, share a bit more about your story, because your story and your vulnerability is going to be medicine for others. And you'll notice that like this, when you start to share a bit more, and when you feel called to share maybe something very vulnerable, just know that it's because there's someone out there that needs to hear that. You are a channel, right? And knowing that like when you get the hit or the idea, or you feel called to share something, don't censor that, because it's going to be medicine for other people. And you'll get used to that as you go forward. You'll kind of get used to the flow of being able to do that. But it might seem scary at first. You might feel very exposed at first, which happens when you start to, you know share a bit more about yourself. You feel like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Did I overshare? And the answer is no. You'll get more used to doing that.
Mhm. For
Mm.
sure. Yeah. I
Does
totally
that make
resonate with that. Yeah,
does
I
that
think like what you're saying about just like in the past and stuff, like when I was vulnerable, it
Mhm.
probably was with the wrong people. And also I was a lot younger, but then I think that kind of shifted into my like adult life. So then I was scared to like open up, or I had like a filter, or I had a guard up, and I was like really careful what I said to people because I was worried about like getting screwed over, or like, like whatever it was. But yeah, that's interesting. That's totally spot on.
Yeah, those people, you know, those people weren't your people. And you have to, you're on like a path right now and you're being taken there. It's going to happen quite rapidly. Things will really like pick up, but you need to know that like you no longer, you have to just keep shining your light and no longer waiting or trying to prove to people, that's only going to hold you further back,
Mm-hmm.
is when you try to like get people on board. It's like you're on a train and you're trying to get people on board who will just never be on board. And you just need to keep going because the right people are coming together. The right people, you're going to find the right people, and you no longer need to try to dim down who you are and make other people feel more comfortable. That's not your job anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You need to make other people feel more comfortable. And I feel like a lot of people are going to be triggered by you stepping into your power. They're not really used to you having sort of boundaries and really stepping into your power. So knowing that that's going to trigger other people, but it doesn't, like, not to worry about like other people judging you, because really when people are judging you, they're really just judging themselves, and you're just holding up a mirror to sort of an unmet need within themselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of partnerships and collaborations happening. This is all going to kind of organically grow. So it's not like you have to start worrying about it. It's just going to start to organically grow and happen on its own. You don't need to force anything because
Mm-hmm.
it's already happening. It's going to take its own momentum, but you just kind of have to let go and kind of like go for the ride.
Okay. That's amazing. That's good to hear. I was gonna ask, like, is anything coming through like family wise, or maybe like you're connecting with anyone? I need an X chromosome. Like, let's get one going.
uh that's so funny. My husband, they have 4 boys in his family, so it's him and three other
There's
boys.
hope.
And we're actually having a girl. And
Yeah.
he was always like, it's like genetically impossible for me to have a girl. I'm like, okay, Darth, like whatever. And of course he's having a little girl.
This is like a crazy question. Is that something you could ever like pick up?
With you,
Yeah, like would you sense like no, like 100% boy energy, or like is that something that
I know,
you
I feel like you have a girl. I feel like you have a girl in your field. Yeah.
I love my little boy, but I also there's got to be some feminine energy in there.
There is definitely like a lot of boys, but I feel like there
A
is a
lot.
female. Mhm.
Oh
Not a lot,
man.
sorry. There's male energy, but I do feel like there's a female there too.
Oh,
Mhm.
I just got the chills.
Yeah. Um, is there a grandmother that you were close to?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Past?
Mm-hmm. Recently.
Mm. Oh my gosh, I just feel like she's just such a loving, beautiful presence. Was she sort of like a really big sort of mother figure to you? Like you two were very, very close. And oh, there's so much, I feel like I'm gonna get emotional, but there's so much love coming through for you, and she's with you. Um, she's with you, and you can talk to her, you can have a sign with her, and she just kind of wants you to know that she's around and that she's proud of you, and knows that she's doing great. You know what I mean? And I know that maybe it's really hard for you because she isn't really around for you to be a mother, and you really wanted, did she meet your son? No, right?
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah. And that's sort of something that's really hard for you because she didn't really get to see you be a mother and meet your boy, but just know that she's seen you, she's just in another form. And just knowing that she's with you, and she's there, she's around, and she didn't miss out on that. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So that there's just so much, she has such a beautiful, loving energy, and she's just, mm, there's just so much love coming for you. And I feel like I'm getting emotional because she just loves you so much. And that was sort of, you two had a very mother mother-daughter kind of relationship, and she was someone that you were really tight with and close with, and you can, you can't call her right now, and that's probably really hard for you, but you can talk to her because she's in a different form now and she's around you, so you can still talk to her, communicate with her,
Mm-hmm.
and trust and know that she's there.
That just made me get emotional too. I mean, that's just really amazing to hear. And
It's like she's just kind of like popping through to say hi. It's like I feel like I can see what does she have shorter hair?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel
I feel
like,
like
yeah.
all old people have short hair though.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes that can be like, yeah, but it's definitely a very grandma energy
Yeah,
coming through.
big grandma energy.
Big grandma energy.
uh,
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, just gonna kind of close off that. Do you have any other further questions right now? Yeah. How does that feel? Complete?
yeah, that feels good.
Mhm.
And I'm excited about the girl part.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like there's a female energy coming through for you.
Yay. If someone wants to book a session with you, like where can they find all that, and any information you want to add?
Yeah, so you can find me at, either my website, jaimezajac.com, or you can find me through Instagram. Yeah, so I have like for my one-off sessions, I have, a 60-minute and a 30-minute session. It's just everyone has this ability to connect, and when you're connecting with this energy, it's just such beautiful high vibrational energy, and I just want everyone to experience that and to know that, like, we have all the answers inside of us, but we give our power away so easily. But we all have this ability to connect and to trust in our own inner wisdom, because all the answers are there. It just sometimes takes getting quiet,
Mm-hmm.
tuning out the noise, clearing out all these old layers to really listen in and trust in that, in the messages that you're receiving.
And what's your Instagram handle for people that want to follow you?
Yes. So it's at Jaime Zajac. So it's spelled JAIME.ZAJAC.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'm so just honored that you came on the podcast, and I'm so excited for people to hear.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so great to come on here. I was so excited to connect with you and to connect with everyone here.
Hi there. If you're still listening, please take 2 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great day.